Did you ever think that you would get this far?
I wasn't even in existence.
Ça fait longtemps qu'on est ici, là, nous autres de Saint-Agathe, là, puis dans la vallée Saint-Jean. Là.
Yeah. I arrived on October 4th, 1921.
Wow. Sister Aurelie Michaud, you must have had another name there when you became a nun.
I was baptized under Thérèse Michaud.
Oh.
Thérèse Marie.
That was
That was my baptismal name. That's the name I went through until I became a nun. And the reason I have Aurelie is because I had a little brother at age 14 who got meningitis.
Wow.
And he was hospitalized in Saint Basile. And I wasn't very old, and I was not in a congregation or anything, and we'd go and see him, but there was no antibiotic, there was no nothing in those days. And at the end of 9 days in the hospital, when he was unconscious, he woke up one time and he looked at my mother, and Tante Marie was there, and she said, Aurelie, his name was Aurelie. Aurelie, qu'est-ce que c'est ça? Oh, il dit la grosse Agnès. And we used to tease my mother as a grosse Agnès, you know.
Oh, is that right?
And my mother was so happy that we all came home that night, and the next morning we got the call that he had died.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
Was he older than you?
No, I'm the oldest.
Oh, you are?
I'm really not the oldest. There was one before me who died at 6 months,
wow.
A boy. And his name was Norman. And then I came. And so they always claimed that I was the most spoiled person because they were so afraid to lose me.
Oh, I found that. We're here today on this beautiful sunny day in Saint-Agathe in February. It's about 10 degrees at 3 o'clock in the afternoon with Sister Aurelie Michaud, who is 93 years old, right? I'm not afraid to ask you your age because you were in the newspaper last week. And that's a long life, you know. I was born and brought up in Saint-Agathe as well. And I remember the Michauds. There was something about a ruisseau, a brook, là, and you lived across the brook, right?
Yeah.
Il disait le bord du ruisseau.
Le bord du ruisseau.
So that was your family, and your father was Bill?
Yeah. His name was Emile, but they always called him Bill.
And was there more than one Bill? It seems to me Gros Bill.
Yeah. We were up there about a mile up to le bord du ruisseau.
Yeah.
And down here, below the hill here, there was another Bill Michaud.
Oh, okay.
C'était Bill Romain. And my father was Émile de l'Aveugle-les-Dents.
Oh, okay.
That's how we differentiated.
Now, that's the way we did it in those days.
Right.
Gros Pit, Spit, and then you named the father to identify the son, you know. C'est comme Bill Ledon.
Yeah, Bill Ledon. And I used to say that to the sisters after I got in the convent, and they thought that was such a joke, you know, because they were looking for my phone number, and I was visiting with my father, and they looked in the phone book for my father's phone number. They looked for William Michaud. Of course, he never found William Michaud. But anyway, I said you should have looked for Big Leverville.
Well, that's the way we used to identify people. I know that my nickname was Pitt, you know.
Oh, yeah?
But there were a lot of pits around. As a matter of fact, there was pits.
One old pit.
One old pit, see? And but then
It's like an old pit, you
right, old pit. I remember he was a carpenter, right?
right?
And then the pit Emile, my father's name was Emile. He knows that pit the same. That's how we identified people. Now in 1921, families that had children, they lost a lot of them very young, huh?
Yeah. I never knew. My mother kept us aware that we had a little brother in heaven, but I never knew what the reason was,
Okay.
how he died. I don't know whether it was a crib death or what, but all I remember hearing is that on the way to the doctor or wherever, he died,
Okay.
and that's it.
That's before you were born?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you said he died at 6 months, right?
He died at 6 months,
Okay.
yeah.
So this was very common
Yeah.
in those days. I know my grandfather, Thomas Frank,
Yes.
they had 16 children and they lost 3.
Yeah.
So that was very common. I can see why your parents were afraid to lose you too.
Yeah.
So how big was your family? How many people in your...
My parents had 7 children altogether, 4 boys and 3 girls. And to this day, well, with missing Rita last November, we were the 3 girls that lived all the way through. But Camille died, he was 30.
Wow.
And he was younger than, they were all younger than me because I was the oldest. And then Aurelie died at 14. And then Norman had died before I came around.
What happened to Camille?
Camille he had polioencephalitis.
Holy boys. Poor, huh?
And he was a widower. He had 2 children. And he had remarried at the urge of my mother. She didn't want him to stay alone. Get yourself a wife.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know when he married, but this was in October, and I remember he died on Christ the King. And Christ the King was in November in those days.
Huh. That's a lot of...
He just lived like 1 week. He got sick like on... My sister Rita, they were having a new house, and he went to help them. And on Wednesday, he said he wasn't feeling good, but he helped anyway. And on Thursday, he was so sick that they had to bring him to the hospital, and they brought him to Edmundston Hospital.
Yeah.
And there, in no time, he was put in a respirator because he couldn't breathe. And on Sunday, he just died. He didn't respond to the respirator at all.
That must have been so hard on your parents, huh?
That was very, very hard.
Yeah.
That was crucial with my parents.
Now you talk about Rita, that's one of your sisters,
Yes.
and she passed away
She just passed away in November.
November. And you have another sister.
And another sister, and she's Dorida, known as Chit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
You probably remember.
Well, we must be related a little bit, you and I.
Of course we are.
Yeah.
My mother was a niece of Thomas Frank and Aurelie.
Aurelie, right.
Yeah. And we used to go there as little children.
Really?
She used to feed us and everything.
Yeah.
She was so good to children.
Grand-mère Olive, yeah. I think she died at 87.
Yeah.
But she was a great person.
She was a great lady.
And I remember going there, spending an afternoon with her as a teenager. just
Right.
sitting with her and talking with her.
Yeah. Well, she used to do the same thing with us.
Is that right?
And we were just the grandkids, you know.
Yeah,
So,
it's amazing. Now, I've heard, throughout living in Saint Agathe over the years, Leda Michaud. That was your grandmother.
that was my grandmother.
La Veuve Leda. So what happened to her husband, do you know?
Yeah, he died of TB.
Really?
Yeah. TB was prevalent at
Yeah.
that time. And he died, he was only 36.
Oh,
And like my father, Uncle Pitt, Uncle Bert, Uncle Silvio, and Tante Marie, Uncle Pat were all youngsters, you know. My father was the oldest. And Tante Marie was born, she was only 2 months old.
when he died?
And he died, yeah.
So, you talk about Marie, though. Is this the one that I'm thinking of? And that she was a school teacher,
Yeah.
and she was
She's
a barber.
She's the only Marie,
Yeah,
Marie Michaud, yeah.
I'm sure she was a teacher, and she was a barber.
A barber.
She cut hair.
That's right. Yeah, there was a little bit of competition with Rosa Frank.
Rosa de Yo.
Yeah,
Puis Arthur Albert et tout. Arthur Albert.
yeah. I'm not conscious of that, but I remember
Yeah.
about Rosario.
Well, you were away for a long time.
Well, I was a youngster,
Yeah,
yeah. Because she used to do all our hair too,
yeah.
you know.
So she was your aunt.
She was my aunt.
Yeah.
She was my father's only sister.
Oh, okay. I remember her very well.
Well, she was well known all around
Oh, yeah.
here.
She must have taught in a one-room schoolhouse.
She did. She taught, there was Blaine School on the main road here.
Okay.
That's the school I went to.
On
And
the-
that Blaine School was big. It had 2 classes.
Oh,
And so, of course, she taught the little ones up to the 3rd grade. And then Claire Chasse, you remember Claire Chasse?
I think so.
And she had the upper grades. And in those days, like, we helped the teacher. The older people in the class, I don't know, it just went as, we were talking about that with Sister Jackie the other day, and she said, they just did it. Like, we just, there was no problem about discipline. We just helped each other,
Yeah.
helped the kids, and the kids helped us when we were smaller.
It was a different world
Very,
from today.
very.
Now, how is Silvio Michaud?
Silvio was the youngest of the boys of my father's brothers.
Okay.
And he had, I can't remember the name, some kind of,
Yeah, he had a bum leg.
yeah, he had to be, he went to Bangor, and when he came back, his leg was straight.
Yeah.
He had to straighten it
Yeah.
out and keep it that way. And he didn't have a wheelchair, he had a wagon, you know those little wagons?
Okay.
And so much so that Tante Marie was waiting, when am I going to get my wagon? Since Silvio had one, why can't she have one?
Oh, boy. Well, I remember him because he was town manager here for many years. And he was the father of Pat Dow, Alan Dow's wife,
Rachel Marquis,
Rachel Bob Markey's wife,
yeah. And
Joelle,
Joelle,
and
Joelle and
Richard,
whatever her name is, I forget. And Mitch,
Mitch,
and before that there was Jean-Paul.
Jean-Paul, yeah.
He never married,
See, that's another one that Mitch has died young, too.
yeah.
Silvio's son there. And he married Marin, huh?
Right.
And she was a teacher, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
Or she became a teacher. I know I knew her as a teacher.
Yeah. That's quite a history of Santa Gatia we're talking about. Now, did your parents have a farm? Is that how they made a living?
We had a farm, and of course, everybody was poor in those days.
Yeah.
And I was the oldest, and Louis was the next, and Aurelie was the next one, and we're the ones that helped Dad on the farm. We had a horse and plow and everything, and to pick potatoes, we had to pick potatoes.
Yeah.
And Dad would dig a certain length, and then he'd turn around and he'd pick potatoes with us.
Those were not big farms, huh?
This was all fun to us.
Yeah. Nobody complained.
We didn't complain.
Yeah. These were small farms that the farmers had. Huh?
Very small.
Do you remember the acreage?
No. I can tell you where it is.
Yeah. Basically, they were like 30 acres or 25 acres.
Yeah.
And,
I have no idea. I know that we went a certain length of time, and there was a ruisseau there, what did you say, a ruisseau en anglais?
a brook.
A brook. There was a brook there, and we crossed that, and then we had another part, and Dad would sow potatoes in different places, and then he had wheat and hay.
And you raised a family.
And buckwheat.
Buckwheat for Little.
Yeah,
Now your mother what was her maiden name?
Picard.
Oh, there's the connection.
There's the connection. She was la fille de Thomas Picard, and Thomas was the brother of ma tante Olive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. Yeah, that's how we're related.
Yeah.
Now, Pitt, I knew him. I was when I was a kid, because my father sold building material. So Gros Pitt was in our store quite often. I think he never got married, huh? And Marie never got married.
Never got married.
But I remember those people very well. And now, Leda, she was, I remember that name, although I never knew her, your grandmother.
She was a wonderful woman.
She was, yeah, her name stayed around Santa Agatha for a long time.
Yeah. When grandfather died, Victorie, she was left with this little baby, 2 months old, and how many? 4 or 5 boys, and a farm.
Wow.
And it was not the farm that my father inherited afterwards. It was Pepier's farm, and she managed all that.
Wow.
And Dad was the big worker, and the neighbors came to help.
Now, your grandfather we're talking about.
Yep.
Did you say that Tsitsit is your sister?
She's the baby sister.
Okay. Now, how was she related to Corinne Michaud?
Corinne was Uncle Pat's daughter,
Okay.
so they were cousins, and they were the same age.
All right, I know they were good
And
friends.
then Uncle Pat died, and my Tante Hélène got married, but Hélène was related to you.
She was my father's sister.
Sister, right. And before she remarried, she decided to go to Connecticut, I think, or something, And Corinne was going to high school. She was in the same grade as Sid. And she didn't want to leave. It was like her last year or something. And she said, I don't want to go to a new school. So she stayed at home.
Oh,
My mother, she got everybody to come and live there anyway. And and so they were more I never saw two cousins as
Yeah.
close as these
Yeah.
two.
I remember that. They were just a little bit older than me.
That's right.
Probably they'd be close to 80 now. Is
Yeah.
Doreen gone?
Yeah, Sid is 81.
There we go. And Corinne died of cancer
Yeah.
5 or 6 years ago.
Beautiful. That was, if I want to call a death beautiful, that was beautiful.
Well, I remember when she got, I think it was pancreatic cancer. And when she got that, she said, leave me alone. I'm going to, they said it'd last about 6 months. She didn't want any
Yeah, and she did.
chemo or nothing like that. She lasted about 6 months. I think she was only about 70 at the time.
That's right.
So my Aunt Helen, my father's sister, was married to Pat
Uncle
Michaud.
Pat, yeah.
Ah,
Uncle Pat he was after, it was just before Manon Viau. And Manon Viau was the youngest of the boys.
okay.
So there was Dad, Uncle Pete, Uncle Bert, Uncle Pat, and Manon Silvio.
Oh, okay.
So,
Silvio, so that's Pat and Rachel's father.
right.
Okay. Now, isn't that something, huh? Now, I knew that Dorilda and Corinne were very close. They were always together.
Yeah.
And she's married, Dorilda, to a Dago,
Norman Diego.
Norman Dago. And they live in Madawaska, I think, huh?
No, at the time, but now they're living by the lake
Oh, yeah?
on Cleveland Road.
Now, the Michaud of Santa Agathe, there's a lot of them. There was.
There was Michaud of my group. There is no more.
Is that right?
Well, there's only Bob Michaud. It's about a mile from here. He was Uncle Bert's son.
Okay.
He's the only Michaud left here.
Now, Donna Michaud,
Donna had no relations.
no relation. And that was a big Michaud family.
There's a big Michaud family.
We're talking about Bob Michaud,
Yeah, Bob and
Donald, Edwin, Don. And one of their daughters became a nun. Gabrielle Michaud.
She entered with me.
Oh, is that right?
In fact, I entered because of her.
Is that?
She's the one that prompted me.
And Donna Michaud's daughters babysat for us, you know, they babysat
They
me.
must have, yeah.
Angela, puis je sais pas d'autres,
Yeah.
là, comment ils s'appelaient. Anyway, they were,
I don't know them very well.
yeah.
I knew Angela, but I wouldn't be able to pick her out. But all I knew was Gabrielle and Hervé.
Yeah.
That was the only.
There were others that I can't think of right now, but they worked on the highways. Donna Michaud was in charge of the roads.
Right.
And he had a little store right close by, and so they were very popular. And then, how about the Michauds with the funeral business there? Maxime,
Carl Michaud and Sam. Yeah. They're not related.
they're not related either.
They're all different.
Yeah.
The only two Michauds that were related was Lizine
Okay.
Michaud. They were neighbors of Donna Michaud.
Yeah.
That's the only ones I know.
Yeah.
And that's the father of Rosaire Michaud.
Okay.
Rosaire puis Lucie.
Yeah.
And Lucie was a girl from my neck of the woods. She was a neighbor where we lived.
C'était pas une chassis, ça, hein?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Treffier Chasse.
Bon. Well, you know, my grandfather, Signon, and my father, he had a brother, he went to Skowhegan. We were not related to any other chassis in St. Agathe.
Yeah.
Same thing as you.
Same thing, yeah. But we had the same names. Like, I couldn't get mail at Teresa Michaud because there were 4 of us
Yeah.
in this little town.
Yeah. And then you talked about people dying from illnesses fairly young. There was no hospital. You had to go to Canada.
Yeah.
And even
They
then,
had to go all the way to Presque Isle.
Presque Isle, n'avait n'y allé que tout, par exemple.
Not my time. I was hospitalized at age 2, and they had to take me by train to Presque Isle. And Jean-Paul Michaud, my cousin there, he's a lot in genealogy and all kinds, and he found a card of that former hospital that I had been, and I don't know where I put it, but he did give it to me.
I remember going to a hospital in Edmonton for my tonsils,
Yeah,
but during the war.
yeah, well, that's why Camille died.
Is that right? Huh?
Yeah,
It was not a big hospital either.
no,
I think it was a Dr. Laporte, and he had a hospital, it was his hospital, you know, different times. Now, we had, in 1949, I remember when Father Robitaille consolidated all the one-room schoolhouses to make Montfort School, right here.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right here.
And he brought, I think it was 9 one-room schoolhouses right in front of the church across the street. So all these schools came together and they called it Montfort School. Now once you were out of your one, in your case it was a 2-room schoolhouse, St. Agathe was very fortunate to have a high school here. Les Dames de Sagesse, là.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it was all due to the sisters.
yeah.
And this priest, I'm not very good at that, so this priest was here as a missionary. Don't ask me his name. I know his name in the cemetery. But he knew the Daughters of Wisdom from France, and at that time they were having trouble with the revolution, like,
The French government, yeah.
and the sisters were not allowed to teach because they were wearing a crucifix. They wanted them to take away the crucifix and whatnot, and they wouldn't. And so he took advantage of that, and he had some come over, and some came and went to Canada, and 4 of them came here.
Well, we celebrated that. Were you here in 2004?
Yes,
They came here in 1904.
right.
And a lot of people, especially girls in the valley, came to school here. Fort Kent, Van Buren, even
Van Buren,
Limestone, Carroll.
All over.
And I interviewed a few people about that, and they said it was an honor to be able to afford to come to the convent. And I think it cost $1 a day.
Yeah. See, that was paid by the state, though.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, that's the way the sisters lived. The teachers were paid because the teachers that taught, like in New York, for instance,
Yeah.
they belonged to a parish, and sometimes the parish didn't pay anything. But here, they were paid by the government, and that's what prospered,
Yeah.
really.
Because if you went to the St. Agathe convent, you were improving your situation.
Absolutely, because they were all excellent
Yeah.
par excellence teachers.
Oh, yeah.
Marie-Eugénie
Oh, yeah.
and Marie de Saint-Cordon, we used to call her Bunny Rabbit.
Bunny Rabbit. Well, I remember Marie-Eugénie, she taught me, she
Yeah.
tried to teach me music,
Yeah.
piano playing and all that. I was just terrible. And we remember those nuns, it was such a big part of our lives. The first grade and the
It was beautiful.
beautiful, yeah. Now, when did you get the idea that you wanted to become a nun?
Not until the very last month before my graduation.
Is that right?
We were 14 in our graduation, 2 boys and 12 girls. And out of the 12 girls, 6 entered the congregation.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, it was Emma, anyway,
It'll come later.
he'll come back. There was Gabrielle, Solange,
Solange. Solange qui?
Michaud,
Michaud, elle too?
la fille Alizine. They
Oh,
were cousins, those two.
okay.
And there was Odile Dumont. And then there was one from Van Buren who was Helen Paradis. She graduated with us and she entered. And this other one that I can't remember the name, but her first name was Emma, and she was from Portage. And we all entered together in 1938.
From Portage, with her last name would not be Milliard, huh?
No.
No, okay.
I know who you mean by that,
Yeah.
but it's not that one.
Yeah. So what kind of a decision was that? Now, you're 18, you're 17 years old, and
I'm
you...
16.
16. And you decide to...
Well, Gabrielle was after me, and I didn't know whether I should or not. And we had the May devotions in the church every night. So of course, instead of going home after school, I'd stick around and go to church. And we sang and we did all kinds. Avec Marie-Blanche Albert, we used to do all kinds of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when the call came at
Yeah.
that time. And then I had to tell my parents.
They must have been happy with that or not?
Well, they were unhappy because they didn't have any money to give.
Oh, yeah.
And then my mother has started to have qualms of conscience because she thought she was too severe with me. And thank God she was. And so anyway, it happened.
Should your sister with when you wore the habit.
Yeah,
Do you know what year this is about?
it's about between 1953 and 1960
And you were aware of what were you doing?
in St. Charles Hospital.
What was that?
And that's in Port Jefferson, New York.
Okay. Now, what was your function as a nun? Did you were you a nurse or teacher?
I was a teacher when I first made profession. They sent me to Port Jefferson to a school, and it was a school for retarded children. And I went to school at the same time, and I taught. I had a small class. We each had little small classes because they were all retarded children in that institute. And but I didn't like it. But I said, well, God send me here. I'll do the best I can. And the superior was very helpful. and the teacher that was the principal was very helpful too. And then the Mother General from Rome came, and she saw us, all of us, en particulier, you know.
Okay.
And individually, and she asked me if I still wanted to be a nurse, because I had requested it when I was in the novitiate. And I said, oh, I'd love it. I said, but this is all right. I'm slated to be a teacher. And then I got the word that I was able to go to nursing school. I was the only one in the congregation that changed.
Oh, so you did become a nurse?
Yeah. So I became a nurse. I studied in a school in Virginia.
Oh, okay.
And it was our own school. The Daughters of Wisdom were there. And then when I graduated in 1953, I was returned to St. Charles Hospital because they had a lot of children. They had polios. They had children that stayed there all the time. They had their schooling as well as their treatment.
Yeah, okay.
And so I was there for 20 years.
Doing that. And you liked it, you say, huh?
I loved it.
See? Okay. So here, you're dressed like I remember the nuns when I was in school.
Yeah.
Is this at the convent, or where is that? At your house?
No, I was visiting one of my uncles. I don't know which one.
Uh-huh. But there's a few nuns in there besides you, huh?
Yeah, there were some other sisters there too.
Okay. This picture here is probably in the 1950s, right?
No, more than that.
You mean older than that?
Yeah, it was in the 60s.
Oh.
Because I was getting ready to go to France.
Oh, okay. Now that's how you looked when you were younger and full of health and full of life and doing your work.
Yeah, I was full of health.
Yeah.
I was good health all my life.
St. Charles was in Virginia?
No, this was in Port Jefferson.
Port Jefferson, New York. And that's you and your family.
That was my family. There was my mother and father. And then there was Joanne and Dawn. And I forget who the others. I'd have to see them closer, but I don't know.
What year was that, do you think?
That was in, that was really in between 1960 and 1970.
This is later in your career.
Yeah.
And you don't have the uniform anymore,
No.
the habit. So this,
And Aurelie, like me, and so I was a godmother.
and she was being confirmed.
And she was being confirmed.
And the red dress, is that a priesthood or the one that's...
No, that was the big boy. He had a red,
Huh.
yeah. The
Okay.
girls were dressed in white, and the whole family had received confirmation.
Were they being converted to Catholics? Is that what?
No.
They just had...
They were very Catholic.
And that's you right there.
And I was working with the mother
Oh,
as a nurse. But she was working with me, and she's the one that asked me if I would be the godmother to Aurelie.
this is your class graduation,
1938.
1938, Our Lady of Wisdom Convent. And you have two boys, huh? One of them is Aline Champamar,
And the other is Jean-Paul Albert.
and the other girls, do you remember them?
I know them all. The first one is me,
Okay.
and this is I'm sorry, I lied to you. I can't remember her name. And this is Charlene from Presque Isle.
See, Presque Isle students came.
Presque Isle girl. And this is, I don't know. And this one is Marie-Marc Bouchard. And this is,
Now, who became nuns in there, do you know?
those who became nuns are, I can't find, this one became a nun, that's Hélène Paradis from and this is Emma,
Okay.
and where's Gabrielle? Oh, this is Odile Dumont,
She became a nun.
and she became a nun, and this is Gabrielle, she was next to me.
Oh, okay. So you had half the class of girls became nuns.
Right,
That's quite something, huh?
yep.
So we looked at a few pictures going back to 1938. Now, my aunt Yvette Frank,
She had entered before me,
she did.
yeah.
I know that she told me she was the baby of the family of 16 kids
I know.
of Thomas Frank. And she told me how she cried all the way to Ottawa. And she cried quite a bit over there too.
Well, she was really, some people cry very easily,
Yeah,
and being the youngest child,
yeah,
she was a very spoiled child,
yeah.
and I think that's why she cried, because I didn't go through that at all,
Is that right?
yeah.
Now, all these girls that became nuns, that's a long time ago, they stayed. They stayed in the congregation, right?
Yeah.
Nobody left.
Out of those, none.
Yeah. Different time, huh? Because I know that in 1963, my brother graduated from Wisdom High School, and half his class became nuns too, the girls.
Oh, yeah.
But by Vatican II, by the time Vatican II came, they all came out.
Oh, yeah.
So you wonder,
There was a real exodus at that time.
yeah. And you wonder, our world changed a lot then. That, it's, because today there's hardly anybody, no more convents around here anyway.
Yeah. Around here, there's none. And we had no vocations either.
No.
There's a few in the city, very few candidates, and there's novitiates. There's a novitiate in the Philippines. There's a novitiate in France, and I think there's those from Africa go to the novitiate in France, and those from here, there's a few girls that went in, like we have two, but they were Haitians that lived in the United States.
Okay.
And they went to Philippines because they could speak English.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a matter of fixing it up with the language and everything, and French.
Now, do you know why you went to Ottawa? This is, it seems to me you were all French,
That was that was the headquarters,
and it was in French?
and that was French.
Yeah. Now, what happens there? You leave here in 1938. You graduated in June. When did you leave for the convent?
I graduated in June. We left in July.
Just 1 month later.
Yeah, at the end of July. And and I was a postulant. You had 6 months postulancy. And
That's when you start?
that's when we started. And then we had to have a canonical year as a novice, but a whole year. And I did that after. And I made profession in 1940, the 2nd of February. And
So you were in the starts with a novitiate. That's the first.
no, postulancy.
Postulant. Now what's that like? You try to find out if you made the right move?
Yeah, you're just a little bunch, a bunch of little girls, and we followed the rule, and they taught us French, good French.
Okay.
Les filles du Maine, non, vous savez pas deux langages, vous savez deux langages incorrectement.
Yeah. Well, they told us that as students as well.
Yeah,
Living in Saint Agathe in the valley, for that matter, the state of Maine had a law that we couldn't speak French in school.
I know that. I think that was terrible.
Yeah. Well, it worked. The kids don't speak French anymore because of that. And then you had the nuns, some of them were from France and Quebec, who said we didn't speak the proper French. And we hardly spoke English. So we were all mixed up.
Right.
We didn't speak English very well. We didn't speak the right French.
Yeah.
I don't know how come we survived.
Yeah. I don't know. When I was going to high school, well, we had both French and English. And I remember that my mother didn't know how to read. And she learned how to sign her name, that's about it. And whenever she was told that she had to read something, she'd say, "Can my daughter read it to me?" And they said yes. So I used to read to my mother French, not the English, because she didn't know how to speak English.
Yeah. So your parents were completely French.
They were, except my father knew. He went to school for 3 years, I think.
He knew some English, you mean? He did know some English. He could speak.
He did.
Yeah.
And of course, he read a lot, and he was in politics, a little bit.
He was?
Yeah, he became something in the town, a selectman of the town,
Yeah.
avec Joe Albert, who was the selectman.
Yeah. Boy, what a different world that we lived in. Everybody was a farmer, almost
Everybody was a farmer, and those who were not farmers worked for the farmers in order to make money,
Yeah.
and the farmers didn't make too much money either.
No. I've interviewed people where they said they had never had money. What would your mother have to buy at the store? She probably had a garden.
My mother,
Did she have a garden?
they had a big, huge garden, and my father used to help with that too. And then she would can,
Yeah.
and she would do preserves, and she used to do all kinds of things, pickles, and
Women really worked hard.
they did.
She never stopped.
And the men worked hard.
Oh yeah, everybody did.
Yeah.
And so what would they need that they couldn't grow? Salt was one probably, huh?
Yeah, they used to buy salt, and what else did they
Sugar,
buy?
sugar,
And sugar.
molasses,
Yeah, molasses, that was very important.
flour.
And fish. We had all of the meat that we wanted, because we had pigs and hens and we had cattle and we had our milk. We didn't have. I went to the novitiate and I said, "You mean to tell me you have to pay for this? The milk." We just went and got it from the cow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Made your own butter?
Yeah. Yeah, she made butter, and she used to give it out to the neighbors that didn't have any.
Bon.
Yeah,
Il était charitable, hein?
yeah, very, very.
Well, that's probably where you got it.
Well, I am. They call me the hospitality bird, so. Yeah.
You spent your...
We had that, like your grandmother had it, my Tante Liv.
Yeah.
She was always receiving somebody. And my
Yeah.
mother did the same thing. And then, like her relatives were up in the Concession, and they come to Mass on Sunday, and they'd sleep in our house so that they could go buy their food or whatever they needed.
Yeah.
And we were happy because we had to sleep on the floor, and they slept in our beds.
I hear that people used to welcome travelers, people who were stuck, people who happened to be in town. And so you always had somebody, strangers, sleeping at your house
We accepted everyone.
and eating there too.
Yeah, that was, whatever food we had was all homegrown and home fixed up, comme des pleuils.
Yeah.
You didn't have bread. Oh, when we had bread, there was a feast.
The ploys were better for you.
Yeah.
Well, what I find, when people ate organically, today they talk about organic food. That's all we had was organic food. There were no chemicals in our food.
Yeah.
So it was very good for us,
And I remember we used to buy fish, codfish,
Oh, yeah. The morue?
and that was fixed up very nicely so that, and I tried to get my cook here to get some, and she said, "Oh, I had to doctor it up because it has no taste."
No. The morue sali, huh?
Yeah.
Now, do you remember fishing on Long Lake? Anybody in your family?
Not in my family.
No.
No.
Parce que nous autres, on allait à la semaine, là,
I know, but we were too busy.
too busy and too far. The people who lived right along the lake
The lake, right?
all had fish cabins, and they'd go in and smelt fishing. They'd catch them by the gallon,
Right.
Was your mother also a seamstress?
Very much so.
Really?
I was the oldest, so I would get a new dress or a new coat, and when I outgrew it, which was very fast because I grew fast, she would turn it into coats for the kids, for the boys.
Okay, she would do it.
She would do it, and then there was a cousin of ours, one of the Marquis down the road there, and she was a seamstress, and she used to teach my mother whenever she didn't know.
Did you?
I'm Scottian.
All right. Avec un joint?
Avec un joint.
Oh, boy. Did your mother preserve some of the wild stuff that we could pick out, like strawberries in the fields and
We were
raspberries?
constantly doing that. Strawberries, raspberries, and I don't remember blueberries too often, but we went around and picked.
And dandelions, remember that? Did you have that?
Yes,
I know a lot of people ate dandelions, après ça des pissenlits,
they're very good.
and that was very
I
nutritious.
even gathered them here.
Oh yeah?
Yeah,
And fugere,
la fugée.
fiddleheads. Do you remember if your parents went in the woods for, I can't think of the name right now, but the stuff to help your health? Voyons comment je appelle ça, non? It'll come to me later. Ils ont toutes sortes de remèdes, là, tu sais, non?
And no, we didn't do
You
that.
didn't do that, no.
We did call the doctor, and the doctor used to make home visits.
Yeah.
Dr. Levesque.
Yeah.
And I remember I was very young and I had bronchitis, and he wanted to listen to my lungs. I think I must have been about 3 or 4, and I wouldn't let him touch me for all no money. And so he gave me a quarter and I let him. Draw your own conclusion. Yeah.
A quarter, I did it, huh? Yeah, Dr. Levac, he was a country doctor. He visited Saint Agathe and Frenchville, huh?
Good.
Were the kids born in your house with a midwife or with the doctor? Remember that?
Well, les sauvages venaient.
Yeah, des sauvages.
So we all went to Mille, and then the baby was there when we came back.
You don't know what happened.
No.
In English, they say it's a stork.
In English, you say the stork.
The stork came. I remember some stories about that, you know. The Indians came
Indians.
and
yeah.
brought the baby. And then they broke your mother's leg, and that's
Yeah.
why she was
So
in
she had
bed.
to stay in bed,
They used to stay in bed a long time then.
right?
Boy, oh boy. Now going back to your start as a nun in the convent, you were there 6 months as a postulant,
Yes.
and there you were learning, you were praying most of the time, I imagine.
Well, we learned a lot of things. Don't ask me what, but we did.
Yeah,
And you know, like, we helped with the laundry and stuff like that. And you needed many hands for that. And these young people was good.
yeah. So as you're going along there, you're trying to make up your mind that you're going to stay there?
I had no difficulty.
Difficulty with that? Most of them stayed?
Yeah.
And then you go into the novitiate, you say? That's about a year?
And that was for a whole year, and that was in the same building.
Yeah. What was different about that?
Well, it was more, I hate to use the word sophisticated, but it was more like we were studying,
Okay.
and we studied the lives of the founders and the foundresses, and the life of wisdom, the daughters of wisdom.
Now, the founder was Louis de Montfort.
Right.
And
And the foundress was Marie-Louise Trichet.
oh, okay, I remember that. So now, are you thinking of a career as you're going through that?
Well, some people were, but I was so darn young, I didn't think too much of anything, except I had mentioned to my mother that when I grew up, I would go to be a nurse. And she said, no, you won't. She did not trust any nurses. So after I was in the convent, when they asked us, what would you like to do? I said, what I would like to do, I would like to be a nurse, but I'm willing to do whatever God wants me to do. My goodness, I was so holy then.
Yeah, because you accepted whatever came.
Yeah.
And when you were in a place or you had to decide something,
They wanted to, they didn't know what can we do with her.
Yeah.
She comes from a family of farmers. She can't be a farmer, but she has teachers in her family. Tante Marie Bonon-Vieux.
yeah,
So that's why they sent me to Port Jefferson, where there was a school for retarded children, and you needed to study at the same time. So that's where I went,
when you say retarded children, mentally retarded.
mentally retarded.
Okay. Now that's you have to be dedicated to take care of,
It was beautiful.
and you loved it.
It was beautiful. Yeah.
It doesn't look like you didn't like anything. You loved everything,
I was happy. I was happy throughout my life,
no matter what.
no matter what.
And you accepted as the will of God when you changed direction.
Well, we had a few things that didn't agree, but
Yeah,
we finally managed.
you accepted it.
Yeah.
Now, my Aunt Yvette, who was there at the same time as you, a little bit before, you say?
She was ahead of me.
Yeah. She was telling me about the life as a postulant and
Yeah.
how it was strict.
Yeah.
You had rules.
See, I have faint recollections of that. My memory is not very good.
Well,
And-
it's good
and,
enough.
And I was so darn young that I followed the
Yeah.
crowd,
Yeah. So she was telling me that her family would send her a box of candy or fudge, and then she would have to share it with everybody, and she probably didn't get any herself, Learning to sacrifice.
Well, I don't remember that. The only thing I remember is the shawl but I was already professed at that time, and I was in Port Jefferson, and the superior said, your mother sent you this shawl, but you already have one, so you can't have it. So I said, well,
That's okay.
I don't think I was too happy, but anyway,
You accepted it. They gave it to somebody else?
they must have.
Yeah. So you were teaching, this was in New York, you say, Port Jefferson?
Port Jefferson,
With
yeah,
the
the retarded kids, yeah.
And how long did you do that?
8 years.
8 years.
And then there was a polio epidemic at that time,
Okay.
and the hospital was right across the street from us. And so I used to go and help because there was so much to be done. We had to take care of the kids and use the hot pack machine. That was the best treatment that they had just found. Somebody invented it. And so they needed a lot of people. And so sometimes somebody would take my class and teach, and I would go there and spend time there.
So everything you did was for somebody else,
Always,
to try to help them
yeah,
and minister to the sick.
right.
Did you ever become a nurse?
Yes. I didn't tell you that.
No.
The Mother General came one day, and that was from Rome, and she sees each of us, and they review our dossier, and all
Okay.
that. And they said, she said to me, you still want to be a nurse? I said, I'd love it, but I said, I'm willing to stay where I am, because I was getting a lot of help from the sisters. As much as I hated to teach, I was getting a lot of help with them. And so that was in December, and the Mother Superior went to, the general was leaving, and the Mother Superior went there to say goodbye to her at the city. She was taking the boat across.
Back to Rome.
Back to Rome. And when she came back, she saw me and she said, "What did you tell Mother General?" I said, "Nothing in particular." I said, "What about nursing?" I said, "Well, she asked me if I still wanted nursing, but I said I would, but I was willing to stay as a teacher." And so she said, "Well, you're going to be a nurse."
Is that right?
So that was December. In February, the school opened. There was a school in Virginia, started by our own sisters. And so I was transferred there. And they didn't start until the summertime, but I stayed there anyway.
Did you see my Aunt Yvette there?
Yes.
She was a nurse.
She was a nurse. She was an excellent, excellent nurse. She was an operating room nurse. And of course she was very glad to see me because I was family. And we had to go to the operating room to practice too. And one time she told me, "What do you do?" Something about after you scrub to go to the room, to go to help the doctor. And I got blank. And I couldn't, and she was teaching some girls that were visiting, and she was very disappointed with me. But she forgave me.
Yeah. Now, then you were a nurse for quite a while? Working where?
I came back, I graduated in '53, and I came back to Port Jefferson, and I got the boys' ward.
Okay.
Because I was big and tall and
You were not bad, though.
Huh?
You were not a bad person. You were...
No.
You're just big
Yeah.
and tall.
They thought that I should be with the boys. So I was with the boys for, I guess, 20 years, until 1970.
Never had any trouble with the boys. They listened to you?
We had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Now, you were taking care of boys who were sick.
All polio,
All polio.
most of them,
Wow.
yeah. And they were not from local people. You know, this was Port Jefferson. They were from the city or whatever, and they would be transferred to St. Charles because they had all the facilities to treat them.
St. Charles was like a special place.
It was a special hospital for children,
Oh, okay.
and they took them up to age 19 or 20 sometimes.
Were some of them, I'm sure some of them were sick or never got out of it, they were stayed paralyzed, or
Yeah, we had all that,
some died
and some died.
of polio.
Yeah, one was not, he did not die of polio, but that was a very striking thing. I was more upset than everybody. This boy, I take that back. He was a polio. His mother was mentally ill, but she wouldn't have him have treatment. And he would walk bent over from the age 7 until he was about 14, I think, when he came to us. And so they said he lied down in bed, and there he was straight. But whenever he got up on his feet, he would go bent over and he'd look at you from there, this way. And the doctors worked very hard with him, and they said his name was Peter. And Peter, we're going to operate on your back, and we're going to straighten it out, and then you're going to be able to stand up. I'm sorry, they started with his hip. There was something wrong with the hip. And they put a cast on him from here down, on one side. And then we had to give him exercise. He had to stand up. Oh, you should have seen the face of that boy when he could stand up and look. He said, I can see you in the face.
Wow.
Oh, that was beautiful, beautiful thing. That's where I say miracles happen.
Yeah. You've seen some. Did you treat other conditions besides polio? Took care of anything? Anybody was sick or all polio?
Well, they had a fracture of some kind, and they have corrective surgery also when they have dropped feet or something.
Okay.
Or somebody that had polio when they were younger, never treated, and they're left with a lot of things, and the doctors would study them, and work on them.
Now you, again, just to remind the people looking at this, you're 93 years old, and you live in St. Agathe, which this used to be part of the Daughters of Wisdom convent here. It's called Montfort Heights, I think, and it's an apartment building now. Quite a few people from St. Agathe live here. Are you the only nun here in St. Agathe? There's Joanne and...
We're only 4 Daughters of Wisdom. One lives in the housing which was opposite your father's place there, and she lives there in a house, and the other 2 live here in one of the apartments. And then when I came in 1991, I was brought up here because Sister Annette was here, and she was transferred to the nursing home because she was too sick. And so I took this apartment, and I've been here ever since.
You've been here this long?
2008.
Oh, okay. Nice place.
Very nice place.
Yeah.
Very nice. So much so that I can't remember the people. You know, I mean, I was just 16 years old when I left here.
Yeah.
And the people see me, and like Father Chabot was here, he wanted me to go and visit the sick and bring them communion, which I love. And I was driving, and he said, you come with me, we'll go together, and I'll give you a chance to. And so he asked me, you know, my name and all this. When I'd go into the house, the people would say, oh, la fille à Madame Agnès.
You didn't know them?
Huh?
You did not know
I
them?
did not know them.
But you learned how to...
Yeah.
We mentioned a while ago Silvio Michaud, who is town manager and was the father of Pat and Rachel in Fort Kent there. He was a teacher, you say. That was his, before he became town manager.
Right.
Probably graduated from...
That's how he met Tante Irene.
Okay. She was a teacher.
She was a teacher too.
Now, your brother Louis, quite well known in the St. John Valley, what did he do? He was a custom officer for a while?
He was custom, But before that, he did soil conservation, and he worked hard with that, very hard. In fact, he almost lost his mind because it was so hard, like people didn't have anything and he'd help them. And then sometimes they'd get money, and instead of using it for what he told them, they would go and buy a car or something, I mean, something that was, and that used to burn him up.
Yeah.
And so finally, there was an opening at Customs, and he took that, and that was better for him.
Yeah. Well, everybody was a farmer, so he had a lot of work. Soil conservation, and then helped them to, when they had...
He worked so hard.
Is that
I
right?
thought he was going to lose his mind.
He was like conscientious.
Very, very. Now he's very happy.
How old is he now?
91,
And he still has his wife.
yeah.
Boy,
She's 91 too,
is that right?
yeah. And they live in this plush place in Aurelie. It's called Dirigo Pines. They have everything from soup to nuts in there.
It's a community, like they have different individual houses, or? Yeah.
Not houses, just apartments.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, for years, you were wearing a certain habit, and things were constant, and they were not complicated, and a nun was a nun, and people respected that. And then all of a sudden you started to change your habits there. And a lot of the younger nuns left. What kind of a crisis was that for the congregation? I mean, how did they handle all that?
I don't know. We started in 65,
Yeah.
and little by little we took the veil instead of the starch.
Coif, they call that, right?
And then we removed the little tail in the back, and then the front piece here. And that worked for a while. And then I personally did not bother with that because they didn't ask me. And I said, I'm willing to have whatever. And as a nurse, I was allowed to wear a dress, an ordinary dress, white dress, and a cap. And that worked. And then we started all of a sudden that you could wear like a suit or something.
Anything you wanted.
And here you are in slacks and
Very different.
very comfortable.
Yeah. Because I know what the nuns were wearing here when I was a student. That was heavy material. That gray, was that wool? So were you making a sacrifice at the same time you were wearing that, or?
It was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard.
And in Virginia and New York, it was hotter than here in the summer?
That was terrible. I mean, there was a sister with me working in school, in the School of Nursing, and she had polio, and she was tall, and she used to work like we used to do everything, like fix up the formula for babies and all that, and you had to go where it was so hot, and especially in Virginia, and she used to come out of there, and her habit was you know, wet.
Wet.
With all the stuff that she had on, that was wet. And we'd say, go and change. But you know, you can change but so much.
Now, this habit was a strict requirement. You had to wear that all the time?
We had to wear that,
Yeah.
yeah.
That must have been hard.
It must have been,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank God I don't remember any of it.
It's a good way to do it. So,
It's good to become 93, you know?
yeah.
You can pass it off, oh, I can't remember.
Well, it's good to be 93, because if you're not 93, then you're not here. Some of us, we say, well, on est vieux, ben, si ça va vite, c'est mort, see? You should be happy that you're doing well. Now, you said you were healthy all your life, huh? Strong and healthy?
Yeah, I can't remember. As a child, I had bronchitis, I had earaches, and I had a lot of things, you know. I had pleurisy,
Oh,
and
yeah.
but I sort of came out of it somehow, and then I wasn't sick. You know, I didn't have appendicitis or anything like that, and since I came here, I developed asthma and something with my lungs, and then I had to have Coumadin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and but they found this new thing now, that Eliquis, that it's advertised on the thing,
TV.
and I don't have to have Coumadin anymore, and have my blood taken every week almost, and then and the doctor watches me like a hawk, and in fact I just come today, and she gave me
Flu shot?
an injection for pneumonia,
Oh,
because I hadn't had it. It was another injection that you're supposed to have ever so often. And then she said, you should have shingles. So I had shingles.
shingle vaccine. The vaccine.
Vaccine.
Yeah.
And then I had to go for my blood because the former test showed something with thyroid.
Wow.
So she wanted a repeat thing. So I came in with all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is as you get older, huh? Now, did you say that you drove a car at one time? Were you able to, when did you start
I
that?
learned how to drive when I was about 45, and then I drove all the time. I had a car because I worked, even when I was in the shelter, you had to work in between as a visiting nurse, and so you had to go transport yourself, you know, and I did. And then, where did I go after that?
Now, when you were a nun in the old method, no nun ever drove a car. The nuns never drove cars in those days.
Well, there was always one driver.
There was one.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you each had your job, you each had your task, like the teachers, that's all they did.
Yeah.
And then another nun would take care of the laundry.
Yeah.
Another one would cook.
Yeah.
So,
And then this one, who was a driver, would be available for everybody, and that was her job,
that's her job.
to be a driver.
Because they say that some of those women that quit the convent, once they got out, they didn't know how to do much because they were so specialized. You know?
Yeah, that's true.
If you were a teacher, that's all you
It
did.
must have been, yeah.
But you didn't know how to cook, didn't know how to do laundry. Yeah, that must have been tough.
Well, if you know how to read,
Yeah.
you can follow a book.
Now, learning how to drive a car, was that hard on you? Was that difficult?
I learned, the fireman from Brooklyn taught me how to ride a car.
Is that right?
Yeah, I was living in Brooklyn for a while, and it was connected with St. Charles in Port Jefferson. And the children that would go there, and if they needed more treatment, they were transported to St. Charles, Port Jefferson. And so I went there for a while, and somebody didn't like me somewhere, so they said I needed to change. And so I went. And there, the provincial said, you had to learn how to drive, because she thought that maybe I could come back up here and work as a nurse for the poor children in the area, in St. John Valley. And of course I had to drive to do that.
Yeah.
And so so I learned how to drive, and they had a car there at the clinic, and we had to put it under a garage under several buildings there. And then there was, across the street, there was a group of firemen, and they would come and give us a hand sometimes. You know, it was easy for a man to come and help. And so one of their jobs was to teach whoever wanted to learn how to drive, to drive.
Oh.
Well, sometimes you had a very nice man sitting next to you and telling you what to do. And sometimes you had somebody that was very nervous and would step on your foot instead. Oh dear. But I learned how to drive.
Well, that's good, because, you know, my mother never learned how to drive.
She never did?
No, and my father tried to teach her, but she never learned.
Oh.
It was just like it was such a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
It's like everything else. If you learn it young, it's easy.
Yeah.
So at 45 there, it must have been a little...
I learned, and then the first trip that I went without my guardians there was all the way to Port Jefferson, an hour and a half on the highway. And I said, do I really have to go? But I did.
Yeah, especially in the city, huh? You had a lot more traffic than here.
Yeah.
Now you don't drive anymore.
At age 90, I said, no more.
You could still do it, though.
I could, I guess.
Yeah.
But that was 3 years ago I stopped.
Yeah. Probably did a good thing.
The only thing is that you have to go to the doctor so often and all this, you know, and it's hard when there's nobody around to take you, you know.
Yeah. So how do you go to the doctor now? Who takes you?
You smile a lot and you beg. No, the sisters here are very,
Yeah.
the Ayot sisters, those who work at the library,
Yeah.
and they take turns in taking us.
Jackie and Joanne.
Jackie and Joanne.
They're the sisters of Judy Ayot,
Yeah, Judy.
who was a teacher and also a representative in Augusta and a senator, very active. Now, the library that's downstairs in this building did not exist a few years ago.
I know. They did such a beautiful thing, and they enlarged it this winter there, And I wish you'd see it. It's really great.
Yeah. I know they've been dedicated to a library for Saint Agathe.
They're very, very good. And they do a lot in conjunction with the Historical Society
Oh, yeah.
and genealogy and all that. They work a lot.
That's going very well too in this little town of Saint Agathe.
Very
the
good.
Historical Society.
Yeah,
Very active.
yeah.
And they've got some nice buildings and everything.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So, les affaires marchent, hein? Ça continue.
Ça continue.
Yeah. Do you remember a girl, as a young girl here in Saint Agathe, how life was? Did you walk to the high school from your house? It was about a mile away.
I walked to high school, and even in the winter time,
Yeah.
we walked and a mile and a half
Oh.
to go to the convent. And my mother wanted me to have a good meal at lunchtime. And so they put me at the end of the table. And I didn't like it because everything was numbered, you know. So many carrots in the thing and so many. And I always had food, but I didn't like it and I was very shy. And so I told my mom, I'll take a sandwich, made a confiture or anything you want. I'll bring a sandwich instead.
You brought your lunch.
So I brought my lunch.
So you were like me, you appelaient ça un demi-pensionnaire, hein? You ate lunch here.
I ate lunch with the pensionnaire.
Yeah, that's what I did too. And you had to eat everything on your plate. Il faisait de la soupe des fois, là, puis il y avait quasiment pas de noodles dedans, on appelait ça de la soupe à rien. But it was good, it tasted good. So you walked to school in a blizzard or anything, you still did?
Well, it's strange, but I don't remember the heavy snowfall
Is that right?
like we have now. I can't remember. I said, what did I do, you know? Because when I was going to Blade School, we had to cross the river. It was a small river. And when it was bad, Dad would carry us across the water and we'd go up the hill to the school. And I said, what did we do? Like, you just brought up that question, and I can't even remember, but I know that we used to walk.
Yeah, because there were certainly no buses.
None.
And I think in your day, the roads were not open.
It was a mud road.
Yeah, but I mean in the winter.
In winter,
There was no big shovels that went
they
by.
had to be open because on allait à Aurelie,
On the snow, I think.
yeah,
That's what I hear, is that we didn't have, especially la concession.
yeah, we went to the concession. I was the only one allowed to go because I was the oldest when Pépé Picard died.
Oh, yeah?
And I was 11 years old. I can tell you the dress I was wearing. And we went there.
Where was that?
Au concession. When Pépé Picard, he was laid out in the parlor,
Yeah,
in the house.
yeah. No funeral parlors then.
No.
Everybody was, do you remember how long they'd keep somebody like that? They were not embalmed there, were they? Once they died, there was no embalmer to take care of them, right? They just kept them for a few days before you buried them?
Yeah, I was too young to
Too young,
remember. Yeah. I I didn't remember of anybody else, that died.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then in the winter, you had to keep them, you couldn't bury them, so you had to, they must have had a way to do it. Now, we're looking at Sister Aurelie Michaud's 75th anniversary.
Right.
That you were a nun.
Yep.
Celebrated just a week ago. Look at that.
I think it's about 2 weeks now.
Yeah, and
Or maybe it is a week ago.
well, it says February 2.
Yeah.
Today's the 11th of February.
Yeah.
You look very good. You look healthy. No question about it.
Yeah.
So here is what we have today in Saint Agathe. 4 daughters of wisdom. Joanne and Jackie Ayat in the background.
Yeah, and they're very devoted. And Kanchit Korivo.
Kanzit Karivo is this the one next to you there. So you live in apartments, you don't have a convent or anything
No.
like that. When Sister Aurelie celebrated her 75th anniversary, these are the relatives that were here, huh?
Yeah.
And who are they?
This is Joanne and Aurelie Lavoie.
Oh,
And this is Pat Dow,
Pat Dow.
Rachel Marquis,
Yeah,
and this is Don Michaud, Madawaska,
okay.
and then this is Chit
Oh,
and Donald and Norman,
her husband.
and this is Madame Marc Chasse.
And Marc Chasse. How was she related to you,
I don't think she's related,
Oh,
it's
she's
just
not
because
related.
she was celebrating her 90th birthday.
90 years old, Madame Marc Chasse.
Yeah.
Remember that. And then you're in the middle here. Okay. These were the friends that came to your
Yeah.
celebration.
Do you want to know the names?
Sure.
This is Joanne Ayat. This is Marilyn Beaupre. That's my cook.
Oh,
And this is Claudel Dumont. And this is Terry Reagan.
yet, yeah.
And this is Teresa Populozio. And this is comment qu'elle s'appelle donc? Georgiane Fongemi. And this is Charlene Coulombe, Sir Candide. This is Maud Morin. She's 98 years old.
98.
Yeah. And
That's you.
this is me. And this is Marc Chasse. And this is Thérèse Pelletier.
Okay.
And it's true.
Congratulations, Sister Aurelie. She chose the name Aurelie because she had a brother by the name
Because my
of
brother
Aurelie.
died.
He died when he was 14, you say?
Yes. And I asked for his name, and they gave me the feminine part,
Yeah.
which is Aurelie.
93 years old. Look at her. Look very good. Been talking all afternoon here on a beautiful February 11th, 2015. You know, if you look back, you say 2015. That seems like another world. You know, if you go back to, let's say, 1970s, 1980s, we never thought the world would last this long. 2015, ça fait longtemps qu'on est alentour, hein?
Yeah.
Well, listen, sister, I'm very happy for you celebrating 75 years as a daughter of wisdom and being happy doing that all your life, helping people, both as a teacher and as a nurse. Very good career. In Santa Agatha here, did you do any missionary work, any work for others?
When I was here for 4 years. I was at the convent. I was what they call the contact person. And I worked as a visiting nurse.
Some time ago?
That was between 1978 to 1980.
So that was quite a while ago. Now, you've been considered retired. Do you retire as a nun?
I could not retire because, first of all, I was not retiring age, and then because I had to find. This is the time that we were all told that we had to find a job, and so I found a job as a nurse, and that was visiting nurse. I worked with Rachel Degg.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and she was the boss. And then I also helped in the parish, like teaching CCD and I was on the parish council also.
So let's say 10 years or more, or a little bit more after Vatican II, the nuns are told that they have to find a job.
Yeah. We didn't have the big institutions anymore.
The big convents, that didn't happen anymore, never plus ça. Huh? I know here 1963, 64 is the last time that they had the high school in the convent. Mm-hmm. So we're talking here 50 years ago. So you had to go out and work, but you had some skills. You were a nurse, so
yeah.
Probably didn't have a hard time to find a job.
Well, when I first came here, Candy de Rosier told me, at your age, you go see Mrs. Evans. You know that
She extension in Fort Kent.
In Fort Kent.
Yeah.
And I did. And she said, well, you're a little bit more too qualified for what I give. And we were several ladies there. And so she said, you go visit the people that you have to visit and take their blood pressure and check on their manners if everything didn't feel good or anything. So I did that for about a year.
Now, that was a big change. Here you are, devoted to the people, and you're fairly secure in your environment. That must have been tough.
It was.
To go in the world?
It was.
Did some just quit?
I guess so.
Yeah.
There's a lot that quit.
Yeah. Because once in a while, we see somebody she used to be a nun and she's married now. So they had to quit. You really had to be devoted to keep going, doing all this work.
Yeah.
Well, it hasn't hurt you at all, looks like.
Well, because I didn't quit, but we have a group that meet maybe once every 2 years or so, and they call it Chez Nous. And so they invite all those who quit and are willing, and they come together.
Okay.
And that is a very, very healing thing.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Because I get a feeling that the ones that I know, the nuns that went into the world instead of continuing they're all still very devoted and very Christian and,
Very,
you know,
yeah.
they're very good people. So that didn't change them. Well, listen, I want to thank you very much for spending some time with me. We had a nice conversation, and I want to wish you the best of health for a long time.
I thank you so much.
And
I never thought it would go like this.
it's been 2 hours and it went by fast.
Yeah.
And we talked about our favorite place, which is Saint Agathe. Huh? Anybody who was brought up in Saint Agathe misses it, I think, if they're not here.
I think so.
It's still a beautiful place, especially with the lake here. And it's beautiful in the summer, and the winter as well
And
as
the
summer.
winter as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
C'est beau d'avoir des différentes saisons. Thank you very much, sister.
And I welcome you. I thank you, and I welcome you to come anytime you want.
I'm going to make a copy and give you one of this interview.
Okay?
Okay?
And are you going to put it on TV?
Yeah. I can call you when it's on.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, c'est beau de se voir sur TV. You become a big star.
I remember seeing Yvette
Yeah?
when I looked at it, and it was so nice. Now the people that I see, I don't know them, so
Yeah. Well, it's amazing how, you know, as you get older, all these young people, you know their parents or their grandparents, but it's hard to relate to them, you know. But when you have a family that you can relate to and say, okay, this is the grandson of so-and-so, well, it clicks. Okay, thank you very much.
you're welcome.